Alrighty there, everybody. Apologies for being on CPT. Unfortunately, it just means we're gonna be a little bit behind sometimes getting this launched. But we're here to start another game idea Foundry talk. We're gonna be talking about the Legend of Zelda, which I have titled this one "Broken Bonds." If you have read the description before this video stream started, you'll understand that the concept that we're going with today is Link and Ganondorf growing up and getting to know each other together, like with being friends, basically. Which is a plot point that I wonder why they haven't gone with the Legend of Zelda yet, because there's so many things that could lead from it, and it makes sense to have at least one Link and Ganondorf actually, get along up until a certain point. Plus, that has implications later on for when they want to, bring Demise back. So, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. But before we get into that, I'm going to let my co-panel here introduce himself. Go ahead, Jay.
What's up, peeps? How y'all doing? I hope everybody's doing lovely tonight. You know, I do adore talking on all things Zelda. So, yes, I am. Thank you, sir, for allowing me to join you today, sir. I appreciate it. I thank you for that.
I don't know where that came from. That just threw me off for a second, but we'll roll with it.
I was
I,
just thanking you, man.
I know, but I know what you were doing. This is just the way that came out. Just like I'm like, oh, my brain just froze for a minute.
I can't even be sincere. That's a damn shame.
But
Damn shame.
the concept for this is actually a video I had done. It was like a year and a half ago, I think. It was one of my what if videos. I haven't done one of those in a while. I need to bring those back. But still,
Cool.
the whole thing was I didn't really think I don't think I placed the timeline on this. And my thought process is to have this fall right after Skyward Sword. Like right after, not right after, but like the first iteration of Link, Zelda, and Ganondorf that were born after Skyward Sword happened.
That would make sense
Because
from a storytelling perspective. Yeah, that
yeah,
would make sense.
because you still have plot points that could be filled in there. You could fill in the plot point of the betrayal of the Sheikah in this game. You could fill in the plot
Not
points.
in that game. Not in that
Oh,
game.
maybe not this one.
Not in that game.
Probably shortly after, but you could fill in
Yeah,
the plot points as to why Hylians and Gerudo don't get along,
yeah.
and you could have a distinct bond between Link and Ganondorf, which is why Ganondorf doesn't just immediately kill him, even if he needs to try a force of courage at some point. This would add more reason to why he doesn't just kill Link the moment he sees him if he's not powered up or ready to fight. Gives him
That would
familiarity.
explain. That would explain Ocarina of Time why he didn't kill him as a kid.
Yeah, because like, what purpose would he have to leave him alive as a kid? And he knows that's who he's got to deal with.
Yeah, or how big of a pain he'd be.
Yeah. So that's what my thought process was. It's like something like along the lines of before the Hylians and the Gerudo had their full falling out, and the Gerudo completely, well, not completely, but mostly banished from Hyrule Town. Is that the Hyrule Castle Town? I mean, is that they're kind of trading and working together back and forth, and Link and Ganondorf both kind of like, not Link being, I guess, a broke kid in his family. Or we might actually have to establish some Link parents in this one that are actually alive.
Well, the funny thing about Link is they have never really talked about his mom and dad. You've seen Uncle, you've seen Grandma,
Mm-hmm.
you've seen his Uncle, Grandma, and it was somebody else, but you've never really seen. Now, Ocarina of Time, they told you what happened to his mom and dad.
Oh yeah, they died.
They, yeah, they died in a jacked up way, but
Yes, in a very
it was
jagged
one of those
way.
situations where you don't, they never really, you never really see them
No,
at
you don't.
all. So it's one of those situations where you're like, okay, I wouldn't mind seeing that. I also wouldn't mind seeing some stuff about Ganondorf because here's the thing about Ganondorf. Ever since Wind Waker, I started seeing Ganon in a whole different light, especially when you find out most of the Highlands were racist as hell.
Yeah.
And so you're like, wait a minute. So when you start thinking about it, you're like, okay, Ganondorf is a king. He has subjects that he has to protect and take care of as well. He's not just doing this just because haha, I want to take over the world. He ain't no mustache twirling villain. He's like, look, I got people I got to take care of too. If you would just, y'all living up here on all prosperous and everything, we want to work with y'all, but you sitting up here looking at me just because what? Because we look different. You got to be separate. Basically, I want to do the bird shooting. I'm not gonna do that on this channel, but basically that's what he was saying. So, but you find that out basically in Wind Waker during the whole puppeteer scene, right before you start fighting the puppets. You start getting to know Ganondorf a little bit better, and you're like, okay. And then when Skyward Sword happened, and you realize, hold on, so there's another being called Demise, and he's pretty much like the god of evil.
Yep.
And Link didn't kill him. He just sealed him.
Because he couldn't kill him.
Yeah, because he couldn't kill him. Wait a minute. So that means that dude can come back. So you just telling me that he really is the overarching villain? Is Demise? He's
Yep.
not. It's not Ganondorf. Ganondorf's not the overarching villain anymore. It's Demise.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So now that we can get the story going in a lot of different ways, I'm surprised, honestly, that Nintendo EAD hasn't optioned team to do something with Ganondorf to tell a Ganondorf story. I'm surprised they haven't yet.
Yeah,
Honestly,
it doesn't make sense that they don't have some sort of just like Ganon side
it,
story.
especially after, like I said, especially after Wind Waker and after Skyward Sword, you would think they would have something saying, "Look, okay, this dude is not crazy." Yeah, he did some messed up stuff, but he has his own people to worry about as well. So it would be interesting to see if they would actually do that. Like you said, I would love to. Well, we've talked about this before offline about the who betrayed the actual Sheikah and all that. But I think the way you got this set up, that would actually be good because it'd give us a different Link. Because Link is known to get along with everybody
Yeah.
in every game. He's the one that goes around. He's even befriended Gerudo on multiple occasions. So it's not like he would. I could actually see that working, especially if they knew nothing about Demise or nothing like that. So if you do this a couple millennia after Skyward Sword,
Mm-hmm.
that would make more sense to me than doing it, say, in the timeline after Twilight Princess. That wouldn't make no sense.
No,
That
that
wouldn't really, yeah,
that's why I was figuring right after, like the story following Skyward Sword. 'Cause it would have to be before Ocarina of Time, but
yeah,
it would have to follow Skyward Sword, and that
yeah,
and it would establish that Link again, because Link can get along with everybody. It would establish that he made that version of him back then, made a positive relationship with the Gerudo, and he was just he's an everybody type of guy. He's everybody's friend.
yeah.
Like
Basically,
he's cool with everybody until they cross him, and we could build upon that, like saying the Hylians kind of like the not so subtle racism from the Hylians meant that they kept resources and things away from the Gerudo, and unfortunately the Gerudo had to turn to stealing, and it wasn't like items that were high value things. It was a necessity like food, clothing, blankets, things to fix their shelters and stuff like that. Stuff that you could get arrested for, but it's understandable on a more personal, more human level that this isn't somebody just trying to be selfish. This is somebody trying to survive.
yeah,
And what I would think for a storyline, having Ganondorf, Link, and Zelda all know each other from a young age, like they're all relative to each other in age in this story. Maybe make Ganondorf just slightly older, but like he's the big brother figure in the group.
make him like 2 or 3 years older, but not like 20 years old. Because I
Yeah,
think in Ocarina he's supposed to be like 10 or 15 years older than them
yeah,
in Ocarina. So yeah,
yeah. But
okay, I can see
this
that.
gives them an opportunity to all grow up together. Link being aspiring to be a part of the Hylian Knights, and Ganondorf also wanting to join the Hylian Knights as a sign of goodwill from the Gerudo people, and Zelda growing up with them just because she was associated with Ganondorf, that meant she ended up automatically associated with Link because Link became his friend. And Link
Yeah.
looked up, Link looked up to him. He followed him around like a little sidekick, like like he was the
Yeah.
Tails to Ganondorf Sonic.
Well, that will make sense on a level because Ganon is supposed to be every iteration of Ganondorf is a master swordsman and a master sorcerer.
Mm-hmm.
So Link, yeah, Link is gifted at fighting, but they never really claimed he was a master swordsman. They never claimed it. He just wins. And he usually gets hurt in the process, which is what one of the things I liked about Breath of the Wild was they would let you know, no, this dude ain't invincible. He just don't give up.
Yeah, like along with that courage, he has a strong determination. He's got a
Yeah.
lot of willpower.
I mean, hell, he literally got shot in the leg, got shot in both kneecaps, shot in the elbow, shot in the chest. You can see the burns on him in that cutscene, and you're like, dude, you got laser burns. Like what the?
And he was still
And he
going.
still got up. And he still stood up. So he's not like it's not like he's a perfect swordsman. So you can get away with doing something like that, especially if you have him looking up to Ganondorf, being that Ganondorf is technically better than him.
Yeah. Like, but that would give them the opportunity to grow up together. They would train together, working on their skills. Ganondorf shows him some new stuff that he didn't know. This could also be the origin of him having the hero slash. You could say he learned it from Ganondorf, and
Yeah.
it just
Or a
ended up being
variation or something.
and it just ended up being passed along as different links acquired the relics that they needed, and they just ended up gaining the knowledge to do it.
Well, let
But
me ask you this.
mhm.
Let me ask you this. So if you do this, so for the end game, do you have it where all three have to go their they whatever end boss it is, they fight them together, but at the end, all three have to go their separate ways and have it where Ganon tells Zelda, "Don't ever tell anybody Link's name." Do you have it where he's the one that says it?
Nah, I don't know if I
Because you
could do
know
that.
in the well, because you know like in the in the lore, the only Zelda is the one who actually chronicles everything,
Yeah,
but she purposefully leaves Link's name out. They only say hero clad in green. So, but that's to protect him, supposedly.
yeah.
So, do you make it where Ganon be like, "Look, I can't do this with y'all no more. But I have an idea of what's going on with me. I can't beat it. But if you chronicle this, leave his name out of it.
I don't know if you
That
want.
would make sense. That because somebody had to make it where she doesn't reveal his name because once again, the Hylians already know about Ganondorf every cycle. They
Yeah,
already know about it, and if any daughter that's born into the Hyrule family is named Zelda, I don't understand why they do that. But yeah,
that is extremely dangerous too.
yeah, that's extremely dangerous to do, but they do it anyway.
Well, I mean, you got a massive army on your hands. I guess you can be a little bit arrogant,
Cocky, a little bit cocky.
but
But
I
Link is
was
always
go
Link's
ahead.
always seemed grown up away from everything anyway. Even if his dad and mom is a knight, some kind of way he's grown up far away from them. Some kind of way. I think Breath of the Wild is the only one that doesn't do that. Uh, In all honesty, he's been a knight. His dad died of natural causes, I guess, because we don't see his dad in Breath of the Wild. I'm guessing he died of natural causes of old age, I guess.
Or in a war.
Yeah, but we just don't know.
Nah.
But normally, like Twilight Princess, he grows up in Orden Village, or way away from the castle. In Wind Waker, he's on Outset Island. In Ocarina of Time, he's in Kokiri Forest. You know, even A Link to the Past, he's grown up away from the castle. Doesn't even know he's a knight bloodline. Doesn't
Hmm.
even know it. So that's what like. I like the idea, but I also like that. to me there has to be a storyline reason why they don't ever mention him. They don't never mention him by name.
Well, I was thinking it would be too convenient for Ganondorf at that point to just know what's going on with him, because I think more or less like along the timeline as far as like when it got down to Wind Waker is when he figured it out.
Yeah,
So
but that would make sense too.
yeah, that early on, I'm like, it might be too early for him to know that. And I was thinking maybe like they would have situations where they had to work together, and they have taken down big threats. But I figured more of a more tangible reason for Ganondorf to just split from Link and Zelda, and that was to say that I had come up with a scenario. It was more or less like Link and Ganondorf had already become knights, and they had been busy patrolling the castle town and trying to like stop people from breaking in or like just stopping crimes as much as they could. And you run into a situation where a Gerudo family had stolen again items that were necessities. And Ganondorf was more or less he's just like, okay, I want to let them go. I want to stop them from taking what they're taking, but I want to let them go. And Link, not thinking about it, he's like, well, but we got to take them in. They have to be jailed, which would cause them to have a fight and for things to split. And Ganondorf, like, well, with the Hylian Knights backing Link on that, like, Ganon's like, okay, y'all gonna do what y'all gotta do. I'm done here. I'm out. And then this, him being the best and top ranked as far as skill and capability goes, he's like, I'm out. I'm done. I'm gonna go do what I need to for my people because y'all not helping. Which could be the reason that caused a rift between them, but it also shows that Ganondorf still, part of him still recognizes that Link is who he is. It's not like he had
He's not evil. He's
he
not
didn't have ill
outright evil.
intentions. He was
Yeah,
just like in the moment, I'm just trying to do the right thing.
yeah. Which is a link. Which is very much a link trait.
Yeah, and that could lead to a rift between them, and that could also feed into demise, basically poisoning the well and creating the situation that makes Ganondorf.
Yeah, because it has to be because especially when you go by what he said at the end of Skyward Sword. Spoilers for a 12-year-old game. Um,
One that
the
will be
whole
releasing against him.
yeah, yeah. But it's one of those situations where he like he puts the curse on him, but the thing is like okay yeah you cursed him, but did you really?
He
You
kind of
know?
did, but he can't control. I guess he can't
Yeah,
directly control him.
yeah he can't. So because he's right now he's stuck inside a sword.
Yeah. So he can influence him, but he can't really directly control what goes on with him.
Yeah.
Which plays well into what I'll be going with the storyline, because that could lead to Link and Ganondorf fighting each other on a consistent basis once Ganondorf goes and says, okay, I'm gonna start training up my people, start getting them war ready so that we can take them down.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
then
that would make
that would
sense.
leave Link and Ganondorf being the best two in those fights, and constantly having to fight each other.
Yeah, that does make sense. I mean, that does make sense.
Yeah, and this could be before either of them even acquired part of the Triforce.
Well, it would have to be because the Triforce splits in Ocarina.
Oh yeah, it does. It fully splits then.
It fully splits in Ocarina. So at this point in time, the only people who know about the Triforce is the Hylian royal family. That would be the only people who know about it.
Yep,
Everybody else, it'd just be like rumored, and they'll be denying it.
as best as they could.
Yeah, as best they could. So,
But that could also lead to a situation where Ganondorf finds out about it, and
well, Ganondorf ain't stupid. So, the one thing I do like about Ganon is Ganon. Yeah, he's power hungry, but he ain't dumb. He actually is very well versed in pretty much everything, politics, sorcery, fighting. He's actually really wise. He's not dumb. So I can see a situation in which he this is how you could tell how he found out about it.
yep,
Because most of the other games they usually outside of Ocarina, well, Ocarina said he knew about it. They didn't say how he heard rumors and he heard rumors about it, but he didn't know it existed. That's why he was going around pretty much threatening everybody, but he didn't really do anything.
Yeah, he couldn't figure out what relics to get in order to get
Yeah,
access to it.
yeah. And like he knew about the Ocarina of Time, but he didn't know to play the Song of Time. He didn't know what he would have to do. He didn't know the sequence in order to open it up. So, which is why in Ocarina he had to wait for Link to open it, and then he just went in behind. He just walked in behind him.
Yeah,
He literally
because
walked in behind.
once he picked up the Master Sword and was stuck and couldn't do anything.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah. Oh, so this is a Triforce. I'll take this. You don't need this anymore.
not that that Link could do anything to him anyway, even if he had the Master Sword at that
He was
point.
10.
He
He was
he, he
10.
was just not capable.
And the sword was bigger than him.
Yeah,
When
damn
you
sure
actually go back and
was.
look at the game, you're like, dude, that sword was bigger than. Wasn't this some Child of Light Aurora situation?
It was way bigger than he was. But I was thinking that would be a good context to go with the story because it gives them so much room to work with. There's a lot of stuff that they could do with that, and I'm like, y'all have already created the foundation for it. Why not just start feeding into that? Start making
Yeah.
those bigger story bits that just lead to the other conclusions that y'all already gave us.
I mean, and the other thing too, like I've said on multiple occasions, Ocarina of Time, if you even come close to 100% in that game, they set up so many different storylines that they can do they can drop at any point in time, and half of them you don't even have to have Link, Ganon, or Zelda in it.
A good deal of them you don't, because
Yeah, you
one,
don't.
you gotta explain how those relics got to where they were,
Hmm.
what those places were like before whatever disaster befell them. So there's a lot of room to open up a bunch of stuff.
So let me ask you this: how would you do gameplay on this? Would you make it just like a regular Legend of Zelda game, or would you do a different style of gameplay? And what would be your thinking on because I'm pretty sure you don't want it to be a 300-hour game.
No, it could be if you want to take your time and go through everything.
Yeah.
But I think sticking with as far as the gameplay system, probably sticking with Breath of the Wild's gameplay would actually make more sense for this. Because one, you don't have anybody that just has ready super access to any of the relics or the mystical weapons. All that
Hmm.
stuff is hidden away somewhere, and you wouldn't assume that it would just be publicly available. So
Yeah.
having a system where you have to craft or build up your own weapons actually makes a lot more sense. Crafting and enchanting, but I'd also have options open for different side story stuff, like so that you can learn more about the Gerudo individually. You could learn more about Ganondorf individually. You could learn more about Link individually. A lot more about the Hylian royal family individually, and specifically the Hylian populace, the ones that just dislike anybody that's different than them.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of room for growth and storytelling along with that gameplay system. One, because it works so well, it gives you a lot of different options, and on top of that, like, you don't necessarily have to have the world be massive. You could just have a lot of interactivity in it.
Yeah. I wouldn't go probably as far as like making the map like Breath of the Wild size,
No, I was thinking more
honestly.
like making it more intimate, more like the Arc
Yeah.
size map. 'Cause
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild's map and the wide open spaces
It's
are nice for that.
ridiculous.
But if
Yeah.
you're trying to do a lot of storytelling, you don't need the world to be so large. You just
Mm-mm.
need the population to be bigger. Like
Yeah.
a more condensed area with a bigger population of characters, and then they could still roll in other characters as Easter eggs, like the dude that runs everywhere and does the deliveries, or
Yeah. The postman and all
yeah,
that. Yeah.
they could have all those characters pop up and have them have little bits of the story that they aren't important to the story, but they still build the world.
Yeah, it makes sense. Because I was thinking 20 to 40 hours tops.
Yeah, like
Because you don't need, once again, this ain't, you're not trying to, I know what Breath of the Wild was trying to do. They were trying to give people that very first Legend of Zelda feel from the NES. And on that level, yeah, you did it. But you don't need to do that
no,
for
they
every,
don't need to
nah.
keep doing that for every game. Like,
Because it'll get old quick.
yeah, definitely will. But this way, they could still go with that gameplay system, and they could just
Mhm.
condense everything down. And hell, they might be able to make some improvements to the system in a smaller area like that.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense. Yeah.
it opens up a lot of options. It gives them an opportunity to bring in more characters that it gives them an opportunity to make more important characters pop up in the story. So you'd have people like the champions in this type of story, but maybe not as diverse as the actual champions were from Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Like maybe just
Or
have
do like
a set
a
of high ranking
iteration.
knights. Yeah.
Yeah, an iteration of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, okay, all right, because that would make sense because they would have gotten the idea from reading about the past. Because what I think what Breath of the Wild is supposed to be like 20,000 years into the future of Hyrule or whatever. Because it was yeah. So if you think about it like that, yeah, that kind of works. Or you could probably do it where they start the building of the divine beasts or whatever. Because I'm pretty sure them divine beasts took like generations
Oh
to
yeah, they
build
had
it.
to have taken a long
It
time to do.
wasn't no, oh, they built it in 30 years. No. No.
They had to have taken some time and a
To
lot of
get all
work to
that stuff,
figure out.
yeah. To get all that stuff built up and working properly, yeah, it took generations. It wasn't no, we got this done in 15 years. Yes. Like, no, it didn't work like that.
Like, nah, whoever designed them didn't live to see them completed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No way.
And on
So
top of
I,
that, like that gives you an opportunity to actually get to know the king and queen of Hyrule.
yeah.
And again, like you could get to know Link's parents. Maybe his father's a knight. Maybe his mother is. Hell, you could even have Link's mother in this game be a member of the Sheikah.
Yeah, you can do that. I
So
mean,
it, like he could come from warriors.
I kind of always envisioned his mom was kind of like Goku's mom, Gine, where like she wasn't just no regular housewife.
No.
Like, you know, and if
Well,
y'all
I
don't know who
mean,
Gine
if Ocarina's Link's mother is anything to go by, the woman took arrows to the back and
to the
still kept
back, yeah,
trucking.
yeah,
So
so, yeah,
I would assume that would be something that would be concurrent with his family in general. It's just like they're all capable people of some sort.
of some sort, yeah. Now, people, if you don't know who Gine is, that's Goku's mom
That's his
from Dragon
canological mother.
Mom, yeah, Bardock's wife. So yeah, just so you know that. They had to throw that out there because some people are like Gine, who the hell is that? That's who Gine is.
Yes.
So, but that's what I would because they was outside of Ocarina, they never talked about his mom.
Nope, not really.
So, and usually if they do talk about his dad, he was a
He
knight.
was a knight, and he's already dead.
Yeah,
It's like, wow, that's real bleak.
yeah. Like how is this kid always happy?
That's a good question. Like, how are
But then
you
again,
not miserable?
then again, this is the Nintendo world of games. I mean, hell, Pokemon let 10-year-olds go go across the world.
That's true. But like, and I was also thinking like with the fact that Ganondorf turned on Hyrule, that could lead to the first raid that happens, and Link's parents could actually die in that raid, which could cause
You know
the
what?
conflict to get stronger.
But I would love to, you know what? I would actually like that, but I would actually want like Ganon to notice that's his parents and he try to stop it, but
And
he
it's too
can't
late.
because it's too late and the monsters that he brought were too strong. He couldn't just
He,
like control them.
yep.
That would be cool, and he'd be like, "Look, man,
And they
I
both
was
see it at the same time. They're fighting each other, but they both
yeah,
notice it, and
and
it's too
there's
late.
nothing they can do. Yeah,
Nothing they can do about it.
yeah. So I would yeah that would actually make it a pretty interesting story beat actually.
Yeah, and that would mean like he just like at that point he calls his forces off and just because you would have to think if he was close to Link, he had to have gotten
Be
to know
close to the
them,
parents.
so he would
Yeah,
care about them.
yeah. Because the only people that I would think he would not care about is the racist ones,
Yeah,
the ones that caused the whole the I wouldn't say caused the whole bad blood, but kept doing the little stuff that pokes at
the
it.
people that
Yeah,
are considered the elites and part of the
yeah,
royal family, some of them being part of the royal family. Yeah, I could see that making more sense.
yeah.
And like in
Because
his whole storm in the town was to try to get to them, not
yeah,
to the bystanders that were there, and they just became casualties.
yeah. Because if you know anything about a lot of the monsters in Legend of Zelda, like Ganon can control dragons, and dragons don't care about you. If you watch Game of Thrones, dragons do not care about you about collateral damage.
No, they
They
don't.
don't.
Like or like, and you could have it even be a situation where it was like Twin Rova was involved, and they were the ones that
Oh
kind
God,
of put
yeah,
the hit in on Link's
yeah.
parents. It's
Which
like
I can see that.
they specifically sent monsters directly to Link's home, even though that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, that would make sense because Twin Rava, as you know, is old as dirt, and
It loves to cause trouble.
yeah, and on top of that, they would always go behind Ganon's back anyway and do stuff
Yep,
because he didn't want them messing with the boardroom. They did it anyway.
yep.
Yeah, so
That's why he
that,
didn't feel sorry for him when Link beat they behinds.
yeah,
He's
I
like,
feel
you
send them
look, y'all
straight to
got
their
what y'all
maker.
got. Like I told y'all not to do
Send them straight to the afterlife. That was messed up because, like, in that game, they actually showed him die.
it. Yep, just straight up
Damn,
down.
Nintendo was dark.
So down to the pits of Hades with you.
Like, damn, Nintendo was dark. Like, what the hell? Yeah, people, you knew they weren't gonna be in Majora's Mask.
Like, I think all of that together would be a decent start to a game that could explain a lot of the contrivances that we know about in the Zelda series, but we don't have an explanation for.
Yeah, and there's one more that usually bothers me, but we'll probably say that for another because that's just one story outside of that, outside of the whole Sheikah betrayal thing. The one I really want is Sheikah betrayal thing because that one just irks me because I'm like,
Everybody
why
wants
would
to know
you?
what that is.
Yeah, why would you betray your own guard? And you know how they ninjas. Like,
Only
are
thing
you
I could think of is that
stupid?
it's only thing I can think of is that it would have to be something dealing with greed,
Yeah,
and it, probably somebody trying to be above their station.
yeah, yeah. And for some of them to still come back and protect you anyway, just because that's what they're supposed to do, which is admirable to say the least. But yeah, I wouldn't have did it.
A lot of people wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, because supposedly they killed a lot of Sheikah doing that. Whoever did the betrayal, they killed a lot of Sheikah. So I'm
Yep,
like, which is why the Yika broke off and like, oh hell no, we're
that's
gonna
why they
kill them
broke
dudes.
off
Fuck
and
that.
went violent.
Yeah, like no, we're gonna kill them. Then they was like, well, we just served Ganondorf. Then the hell with it.
Actually, that could be a decent follow up after doing this one, like where that story plays out, and then that could explain why he has them working for him because like we saw what happened to you people. We thought that y'all were just the bad guys at the time, and
But
then
we
they did it
found
to
out,
us.
yeah, yeah. Then they did it to us, and yeah, they added the teardrop to it. We gonna invert the eye.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, this just opens up a lot of pathways to do a lot of different stuff with the series, and it could highlight different characters. But another thing I would want to be done with this is to not just give you Link to play with for the whole game. Like
No, we should play with everybody.
have situations where you'll play the game from Zelda's perspective, or you play it from Ganondorf's perspective. I'd give you each character's individual perspective from this story.
Here's how I would do it: have the story set up to where certain chapters you don't have a choice. You have to play with Ganondorf. You have to play with Zelda. You have to play with Link. Now at the end, to get the true ending, you have to do the ending fight with all three of them, or just make it multiplayer and you can do it like that. But I don't think they're gonna do that. That needs to stay single player, in my opinion. But
Uh,
that's just me. So, but yeah, I would do it like that. And that way you can have it where okay, once you get to the end to get the true ending, once you get to the end, you have to beat it with all three of them because the story needs.
I was just thinking about it. They could do the first Sonic Adventure approach, where you could just
Yeah.
select each individual character and you unlock them through the story,
Hmm.
and you can just play their story bits from there, and then have a final chapter that kind of
Hmm.
forces the three of them to work together for a reason. But then after that, they break off.
Yeah, I mean, because it'd have to end with them breaking off. I mean, it would have to, and I understand the thought of playing with all three of them because that's what the series revolves around. It revolves around courage, wisdom, and power, and those are the three embodiments of that. So
Hmm.
I know people want to want certain things from the Zelda series, but I will say this: I'm going to be nice. I will say this that no, you shouldn't change that. You should keep it because that's who the story is made around. I mean, I like Lord of the Rings. I don't get mad at Lord of the Rings because Aragorn ain't black. I like Lord of the Rings because the story is good. So I would love to see um, all three of them do become playable because I think they should. Honestly, I think they should do that with Breath of the Wild too. But I don't know what story they're telling with Breath of the Wild too, so
Nobody
I can't
does.
really say that. But I will say this though. Ever since that first Hyrule Warriors game, when Queen Zelda was playable, I'm like, dude, this done ruined it for y'all. Y'all gonna have to make her playable at some point. Y'all gonna have to make her playable at some
They
point
have
because
to.
and I hate to be that guy, but after playing Age of Calamity, Queen Zelda from the first one, I'm sorry, I don't like Zelda in Age of Calamity. I'm sorry, she's not that dope to me. Not compared to Queen Zelda. No, no, Queen Zelda's way more fire than
Well,
her. But
one was trained to fight, and the other was not.
yeah, the other was not. But I've had to deal with people telling me that, oh, see, they could have put her in Smash like that. See, she can fight in Age of Calamity. Like, no, she can't. No, she can't.
She's kind of overpowered with magic. She doesn't
Yeah.
have normal combat capabilities, so no, she would not work
So
in
no.
Smash that way.
So so no. Sakurai was right.
And
So.
and think about it this way: that's why they use Twilight Princess Zelda, and not
Mhm.
like Ocarina of Time Zelda.
Time Zelda, because Ocarina of Time Zelda didn't really fight like that. No, I'm like even when she was Sheik. The spoilers for a 20-plus-year-old game. Even when she was Sheik, I mean, Sheik didn't really fight.
No, Sheik was more espionage at that point.
Yeah,
It wasn't combat.
yeah, yeah. Because here's a little side tip: the Sheik magic, it was an optical illusion. That's why she never let Link get close to her. Because all Link had to do was touch her, and the magic would be dispelled.
Yep.
So there's that. Just a small little spoiler for a 20-plus-year-old game because I'm pretty sure that game's coming in HD. I'm pretty sure that's what's another one that's coming.
Oh, likely. Very, very
Yeah,
likely.
I mean that's the game that actually changed a lot of games in the action adventure genre for what fifth and sixth gen.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, I like the idea. I mean, I can actually see it working for a number of different reasons. But I would say this though: the final fight would need to each one of them would need to have a weapon reminiscent of what theirs would be. Like Ganondorf would need the trident. Zelda would need the bow,
Mm-hmm.
and Link would need he would need to fight only with a sword and shield.
I mean, he
So
could have the Master Sword because it's still in existence at that point.
yeah, it's just in the forest and it can't nobody really.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
But
because it would be
but you know what?
you
You know
give.
what? That would actually would be a good idea because that way you can have all three of them help them get each other's sacred weapon,
Yep,
basically.
make it a situation where they have to do it.
Yeah. And then in whatever if you because I think it's high time we stop making Ganondorf the villain and just bring Demise as the overarching villain at this point because I'm sorry, to me Demise is a better villain than Ganondorf. I don't see
Well,
Ganondorf as a villain. I
that's
just
because
don't.
Demise is meant to be a villain, and Ganondorf
Yeah,
is just kind of forced into the role.
yeah. That's what I would love to see if in Legend of Zelda, if somebody makes a story where they just where because Sakurai kind of hinted at that in Brawl in SSC when he was like, yeah, Ganon ain't that he's not that dumb.
Mm,
So if he figures out he's being controlled, he's gonna rebel against that.
yeah, but I think like having Demise for this particular game, maybe having Demise have a resurgence,
Yeah.
like a temporary resurgence, and get sealed away again.
Mhm. Like have him be the final,
Yeah, but like not
or
at full
have his
power.
shade. Yeah, have his shade be the have his shade be the actual.
Yeah.
Because and that would actually make sense. Because one of my theories for Breath of the Wild is because if you play Breath of the Wild, spoilers for a 4-year-old game, um, that ain't Ganondorf. They keep calling it Calamity Ganon. That ain't nothing but malice. I think that's Demise breaking the seal on that Master Sword, which is why the Master Sword keeps getting busted up and losing power because Fee's losing control in her ability to hold him at bay, and he's
Mm,
leaking out. His malice is leaking out
that would
because
make sense.
Demise ain't nothing but malice. That's all he is.
Yeah, that's with the body.
Yeah. Malice with a freaking, what, 6'10", 485 pounds of freaking muscle.
But it again it just leaves a lot of plot threads that they can work with. Like,
Yeah.
and it tidies up some of the ones that they left wide open.
Yeah. 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 It really does, actually.
And here's my daggone camera had to have dropped for some reason. It'll come back in a second. I'm just making sure I can fix it.
Hey,
There it
things
goes.
happen. Things happen. We know how these things happen whenever we get on these podcasts, as it
I
were.
bump one thing and the camera just drops. Like if I wasn't paying attention to it, I would have been gone. I'd have been a ghost the rest of that. Been a disembodied voice. But I don't know if there's too much more we can go with this one at the moment because I think we've covered a lot of different points.
Mhm.
And as far as the gameplay system, like I said, Breath of the Wild just makes more sense. Just make the world smaller, tighter, and have more populace in it than worrying about the environments being wider. Like have
Yeah.
multiple different biomes again, but just make the world smaller. Make things
Or
easier to
make it
get
where we
to.
can get to them easier. Yeah,
Yeah.
make it easier to get to, and because we don't have to worry about like you can have Hinoxes still roam around or Lionels if you want to, but we wouldn't have as many as Breath of the Wild
No.
because Breath of the Wild is just supposed to be like they just overran stuff. Like and you don't have to worry about Guardian Stalkers or nothing like that because that technology wouldn't exist.
Yeah, no, this is still early on as far as the Zelda story goes, so it wouldn't make sense to have a lot of them.
Yeah, um, and like I said, Lionels and Hinox and stuff like that. That's cool, but you don't have to have as many as they have in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, nah, they really don't.
I mean, Breath of the Wild did kind of get a little bit ridiculous with every time you walk somewhere, you're like, "Is that a big centaur looking? God dang it, it's a Lionel."
Yeah,
Oh horsey, where are you?
but this is probably the end of this particular part of this concept because I got a lot of different Legend of Zelda ideas and concepts that we could roll with, but for this one in particular, I think it's best to just cut it off here because we've given a crap ton of information, a lot of different places that they could run with it. Again, the gameplay system wouldn't be difficult for them to re-implement since they built it pretty much from the ground up. So
Yeah.
they've already got that in place. So yeah, a Legend of Zelda game where Ganondorf and Link basically grew up as best friends and eventually have to part ways. I think that could work.
Yeah, especially from a storytelling um, perspective. They would go great with the lore.
It would fit with a lot of the stuff that has happened.
Yeah.
And again,
Good.
it gives a reason as to why Ganon doesn't just immediately murk Link every time he sees him without him
Yeah.
being being ready to fight.
Yeah. I mean, because what Wind Waker he let him go. Ocarina he let him go. Twilight he really didn't let him go.
Well, Twilight he kind of gotten he showed up late to the party, so I
He
can't
showed
really
up late to the party.
can't say much at that point. That Link was already well on his way to where he needed to be by the time he met Ganondorf.
Yeah. Um, Link to the Past that was his shade,
Yeah, that wasn't
so
truly him.
that wasn't truly him. So yeah, I mean, most of the games he did like let him go for some odd reason. But yeah, you can explain it like that.
It, it just it fits well with the lore.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna call it quits here. Actually, it was shorter than I was expecting it to be. Go ahead, call it quits here. You got anything you want to pimp out real quick?
Yeah, hashtag demise for Smash. No, I do have some gameplay up on my gaming channel for Yeast Origin. I've completely forgot about that game, honestly. And then I saw it. I was like, dude, I haven't played this, and I love the E series. So, picked that one up. I put the first 20 minutes on. I'm probably gonna do a live stream of that at some point. Monster Hunter Magnamalo. Me and a couple of fellas will be doing that hunt. We will probably die gloriously for it. So
Go
yeah,
out like Spartans.
yeah, we're pretty much going out like Spartans for this one. But yeah, that's the only thing I got coming up. Don't forget Winging It Podcast Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will be doing that as well this Sunday. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got.
Okay. Well, as for me, I've had videos come up this week. I've had PlayStation recommendation, Will Rock for Xbox, and Pitch for Switch. Because I know people have been like wondering, like, where did those videos go? Well, look, they took time. I had to think of things. Sometimes that slows me down. I actually got one for tomorrow that people might find interesting for The Last Dragon. Remember we were talking about that?
Oh yeah,
That's for tomorrow. And I ran through that idea and how it would work. And even for potential extended content from the end of the actual movie story. So, like, that's
I
all in like
mean,
a 9.5 minute video.
hey, look, with Dottie MU doing Ninja Turtles and Streets of Rage 4, I can totally see them doing this.
I could too, honestly. And I
Yeah,
would not be mad if they did. I would not be mad
straight
the
up,
least
a
bit if
straight
they
up
did it.
brawl, straight up brawler.
That's what you got to look forward to, and I'm rolling out more videos and trying to make sure I got a bunch of stuff ready to go. But as I always say for this, if anybody's interested in jumping in, you want to talk about a concept or an idea that you have, and you just want somebody to go back and forth with it, you can bring it here. We can talk about it live. I'm up for it. I'm like, I actually enjoy doing that, and I notice now a lot more has been happening on YouTube that people are actually talking about their own video game ideas before a lot of people actually even go on to making them. So if anybody wants to talk about something that they got in mind, bring it here. I do not mind taking the back seat as the person listening and just giving my inputs back and forth. I will always say that. If anybody's interested, just bring yourself here. But